She feeds wood to the copper urn all day for hot water. She orders the girls as they sit pounding bright yellow turmeric mix in big black granite mortars. And she winnows the rice in the courtyard on palm mats using an electric fan on an extension cable. Every morning, she rakes the sand outside my veranda steps into a welcome mat and brings me a tall glass of weak black coffee, the coarse sugar granules lying undissolved on the bottom like sand. And every night, she brings me a bucket of warm water for my bath. Now, I learn how to bathe using a scoop. Half a bucket to wet yourself, then you soap, then half a bucket to rinse off, and you bathe in a crouch to maximise the coverage of each scoopful of water, because I really don't want to have to ask her for another bucket. I am ordering servants. This feels wrong. In fact, a lot of things are beginning to feel wrong. By November, well, November in Goa is the month for burning caterpillars. Now they look innocent, all fine white fluff, but make you scratch, says Deepa. Horrible, yeah. Deepa is a butterpat. She's a full moon. Her jalebi belly wibbles when she giggles. She's sweet and round like a gulab jamun. But she pursued him so intensely, would not be turned, that Ashley still jokes he feared for his honour. It was a love match then. Must have really burned for his Catholic family to let him go and marry a Hindu and him a De Silva, although she was Brahmin and fair-skinned. So. Deepa waxes tourist legs at the local spa and paints their hands with henna loops, fat and brown like the caterpillars that we soon learn to fear treading on. Spines in the heel must be doused with candle wax and ripped out promptly, scratch, and it takes weeks to heal. Burning, ragged, flying arcs of welts like embossed paisley. And then, well, it's vinegar for the itch, a brass ladle smoothed over, and nothing to eat but rice water gunji. Ashley, he's got the crimson dope smoker's eyes, and he's as thin as a whip, and his mustache, yeah. He knows gangsters, he knows governors. For him, hey, it's just a trip, man. It's such a fucking trip. He takes us to Mafia Bar. Tables under trees around a rough-edged park where caterpillars spin on threads and drop on chairs. And we soon learn to hate them, itching at shadows twitching in the dark. But Lucy, 2 weeks out of the vicarage, where she thinks she sees them crawling up her thighs when the pills kick in. 4 days later, she's standing in the road, screaming at devils, clawing her snatch at the passers-by. And the boy who's been spending her money, he packs up and goes. There are plenty of girls like her, all down the beaches and prettier, although she was British and white. So, on a fag-pack pyre, we use matches to taunt as many as we can find. They say we must burn them with great anger. So we watch the tiny bodies blacken and writhe. I phoned Lucy's dad, and he flew out and took her home. Or at least, I think he did. The truth is that after I made the call, I didn't see her again. she had begun to call me Lucy and say that she was Sasha. And it felt like she was stealing my identity, stealing my soul, and I had precious little to spare at that point. I was scared. So I carried on partying, calling it freedom. Only now I would go to the beach every day and write out my real name in the sand, just so I wouldn't forget. And there is a fairy tale about Goa, that it's a place of peace and love, and you can go there and find yourself. And that fairy tale has been in existence since it became one of the destinations for the hippies, for the freaks in the late 60s. And they would come overland through Afghanistan and come to Anjuna in North Goa to live a simple life, to walk naked on the beach, to take acid, to find themselves. And in Anjuna there is still a hippie population. They've been forced further north as the tourist towns spring up around them like strange white mushrooms, square mushrooms, pushing them up the coast. But there was a man living there, a living legend, the original overland hippie pioneer, 8-Finger Eddie, an American guy. And I read his memoirs. So my next piece takes real stories and real people and real dialogue from his memoirs to tell you the story of 8-Finger Eddie and the freak family Goa. Then, as now, this is the real deal. The women crouched, muttering under their black umbrellas in Matza Market, brooding their clutches of vegetables shaped like emerald alien spores and ivory Viking boats. Or the old guy in the blue and white checked dhoti, scalping the brown-haired husks off coconuts. Or the grey nuns riding pillion on the yellow motorbike taxis that forced the crowds to part and eddy in front of these gridded cubby stalls, their dark open mouths dribbling blazing marigolds and white jasmine onto rubbish and cow shit. 1968. His first ashram was just a ruin, papered with weeds, carpeted with shit. 1969, his second house had a white heart painted on the red tile roof to mark it as home for freaks. And over his sexy, smiling mouth, his bandit mustache tucked down, prow and stern like an overturned fishing boat. And they all came to live the dream with 8-Finger Eddie, carrying with them offerings, tollers of sticky black cherries, moist, green-hearted coconuts. Because Anjuna was virgin when he got there first. Just a spit of rock fringed with coconut. Not even a chai shack. Not even a chai shack, let alone this imported Pepsi shit. But then they came streaming after him over the blue Afghan passes, these flower children, followers of Eddie. So next season the rents go up, suddenly it's the seller's market, and the buyers, they're also painfully fresh off the boat. They're half his age. They're pink and soft like an unbroken mouth. 1970. Harry is getting big into acid, but all he can think about is Valerie's mouth and the way her slim blonde body has walked naked on the beach so many times now. It's the toasted brown like coconut. He knows he's not the only one looking. He knows he's not the first to go there. Maybe he has missed the boat. But then Chris, he gets sectioned for flashing at housewives, spiked out of his mind on some Nazi truth serum shit. And Big Jim, well, he gets arrested stealing fabric, for his followers' robes because, hey, the Messiah does not follow the rules of the market. And it turns out Kurt was always more into Eddie. 1971. Valerie feels like she's been dying all year. She's only safe when she's held by Eddie, who neither loves her nor lets her go, just encourages this fucked up dream babble rippling out of her split lips, where Harry calmed her down with a fist to the mouth. Harry, who she married, well, he's out getting money for her hepatitis meds, selling blotter to the fresh meat on the market. He comes back, ripped to the tits to find them both, says, "Oh man, this time I cracked the coconut," grabs a rock, dives at Eddie's head. "You shit! You total shit!" On reflection, our hero. Don't try and help them. They only get attached. Let slide by. Don't rock the boat. Well, by 1996, they're still streaming after him, flying the blue skies to Mumbai and down on the Panjim boat. Shanti, not her real name, she comes here for the full moon parties where the black light on the dancer's body fluoresces neon whirls and eddies. But, it's really commercial now, she says, knotting up her dreadlocks and opening a kingfisher with a psht. She slides the joint between the piercings in her mouth and rearranges her merchandise, the fluoro beads, the tie-dyed rave gear, the Om-sign pendants out of carved coconut. She'll flog them on the festival market when she's done the winter season here at Anjuna Market. She doesn't know it was Eddie. It was the freak-sized idea to set up the flea market. Now she's seen the old man with half a hand spouting his shit to the girls at Joe Bananas in his fog of patchouli and dope smoke and oil of coconut. By 2010, well, his last friends tip him over the side of the boat, and the sea swallows his ashes with an indifferent mouth. So, I didn't really take to Eddie. Charismatic sociopath, that's my ill-informed diagnosis of Eddie. But it was interesting reading his memoirs. He recounts conversations with young women who, had they survived, those of them who did survive, would be my mother's age now. Women who then were my age when I was there. Women who, had I chosen to have a daughter, be the same age as my daughter. And I felt a tremendous anger, protective anger for them and for me, lost as we were in Goa. And I have to ask myself, what happens when an impoverished, rural, Catholic community finds out that it can make unimaginable amounts of money catering to the whims of affluent Western hedonists? Does everybody find their real self? Does everybody remain spiritually and emotionally centered? I believe not. There was a story back in 2010, the year that Eight Finger Eddie died, about a lady called Fiona McCowan, who believed the fairy tale of the hippie community in Goa and took her 15-year-old daughter Scarlett to stay there, and left Scarlett there. Do you know this story? She left Scarlett with the community there while she went down the coast to go calm. And Scarlett hung out and spent a lot of time stoned, being a kid, and then was found one day on Anjuna Beach, beaten, raped, and drowned. And she's not the first, and we know that she's not the last. There's been a lot in the papers recently about rape in India. It's a very dangerous and violent place, and it became apparent to me that I needed to leave Goa. My travelling companion Charlotte had already left me, first for acid, then for smack, then for an Indian lover who locked her in her room and set fire to it, and having survived that, she had gone home. But I didn't want to go home. I wanted to be like these hardened travellers who would breeze through Goa at Christmas and sit around the campfires and say, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Goa's Goa, right, but Goa's not India. Yeah, I mean, you haven't really been to India. Yeah. I thought, wow. I want to travel pillion on an Enfield with an impossibly beautiful bongo player called Tarek. That is a direct quote from my diary somewhere. I want to wear a bindi without irony. So I thought, it's New Year. New chapter, new destination. I'm going to be leaving. Because sometime after the chime, I find myself swinging dreamily over the bay at Paradiso. It's a dark nightclub, raised on a cliff edge. Bass spins. Silent. Stoned bodies in the DJ box. And I am not my own. The moon possesses me, holds me by my breath, and blows balloons into my breasts and draws me down. So a white path through the air. And I descend impeccably. A light on bone-pale sand, bleached, empty as my hand. Like a finger, the moon has pilfered colour. The sea is porcelain slip, thick grey drool, rolling round the bay bore, gumming the pelvic rocks with slackened lip. I slide my foot into its mouth, its blood-warm grip, heavy, like a silver anklet, close to my legs like an oil slick, promising, like hands on my hips. Corset, harness, iron lung, a bag over my head, and I am hung twisting, dreamily, in the bay at Paradiso. Waterhill, suspended between two worlds, above the skin and below. It's time to go now. Time to go and sink the final inch, touch tip, toe, and lever leap. A crescent bow, nipples pushed against the flow. Lunar surface, syrup, slow. Letting go now, letting go of Goa, Goa, gone. So there I am, the continent spread out, and my little white feet with their little silver dolphin toe rings, so cute. And I'm wild to dive into the real India, whatever that is, and find the real me, whatever that is. And there is a Hindu concept called Maya, or Maya, I don't know if you've heard of it. Basically says that there is no reality, all of reality is an illusion. And there's a tale that goes with this. It says, a man is walking down the riverbank, and he meets the god Shiva. And he says, Shiva, please explain to me, what do you mean by Maya? And Shiva says, yeah, no problem. Just jump in the river, swim to the other side, and when you get out, I'll show you. So the guy jumps in the river, swims to the other side, gets out, and he is an 18-year-old girl. She gets married, has children, has grandchildren, dies, and her corpse is brought to the river to be washed before cremation. The body slips under the water, and when it comes up, the man is back on the other side exactly where and when he started. And Shiva says, ta-da! That's Maya. You dip in, you step out, you dip in. You shift shapes, you slip skins, you move on and begin, you move on and begin, you move on and begin. Who to be, where to go? Should I take the high road to Dharamsala? Get a red sacred thread around my wrist from the Dalai Lama and sit around in cafes with my sleeves rolled up? Because I'm holier than thou. Should I do the tourist trail around Rajasthan so I can sneer at the three weakers because they're dependent on aircon and they're all trying to break it down to bite size with their snap, 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 snap? I'm hardier than thou. I can dip in, step out, dip in. I can shift shapes, I can slip skins. I can move on and begin and move on and begin and move on and begin and move on and begin. And pretty soon, the journals splinter. Names walk through pages like ghosts through walls. And I can see myself squatting in the corner of other people's lives, trying them on for size. There I am, living with Sapna and Arun and Tarun in their 2-room tower block flat where their servant sleeps on the front doormat. There I am, hanging out with Arjun. Bit of a mistake, he thinks I'm a pop star. And I'm watching the full force of the full moon come slamming against those cheekbones so recently signed to elite model management. And there I am, sipping chai with Shailo's sister in her pin-neat shanty shack, where the rainwater in the moonlight catches in the ginnels of the corrugated roof like needles, and she stitches by hand, by lamplight, when the power outs. If life's a skins, I'm running my hand through a rack of pelts. People and places, faster and faster. Images go past like shuffled tarot cards. And to tell you the truth, I'm asking the tarot cards what to do a lot because nothing inside me is telling me, so hey, maybe there's something out there that will show me what to do. Now, of course, I don't get a sensible reply. With hindsight, I know exactly what they should have been telling me. Maybe we could try. Would anybody like to help me ask the tarots where we should go? I got some here. Where should we go? Where should we go? Let's get a bit of advice. Pick a card, any card.
Knight of Discs.
Knight of Discs! Knight of Discs. What I now know this means is, go back to Auroville. There's a really beautiful man sleeping in your treehouse. You're so gonna like him. Let's try another one. Who would like to read? Who would like to read a card? Pick a card, any card. Where should we go? Matt, where should we go?
Star.
Oh, the star. Such a hopeful card. This means go to Pushkar and sleep in the desert, and the stars will play music down you as if your spine were a flute. Nice. Yeah, definitely go to Pushkar.
Nice, thank
Good
you.
advice, good advice. One more? Should we try one more? Direction, who would like to pick a card? Sky. Where should we go, honey? Where should we go? The Hierophant. Honey, I know you think you're in touch with higher powers. But when you're deep in meditation, the mosquitoes aren't really bouncing off your force field. I think you might need to just go somewhere to chill out. So of course I didn't get any precise answers like that. And I kept going and I kept going, and myself and my journals and my India, they become a blur, like those clay chai cups you get on trains and then throw out of the window to melt between the railway tracks in the next heavy rain. Like tea bushes swallowed whole by the cloud tongues rolling up the mountainside. I could try and take you everywhere, but I fear we would get nowhere. However, I need to give you something of India, so I thought perhaps I could offer you a city. Would you be happy with the city? Yeah? Well, the city I'm thinking of is the holiest of cities, Varanasi, sometimes called Benares. And it lies on the holiest of rivers, the Ganges. And everything that's important in life takes place on the riverbanks, which are covered with stepped landing stages called ghats. So to help us negotiate our journey through the city, we have 6 characters, one of whom is me, or, if Shiva is to be believed, possibly all of them are me. But one of them definitely is. So we're going to see a corpse, a yoga student, a sadhu, who's one of those emaciated holy men who do fantastic feats of physical devotion, like stand on one leg for 15 years, that kind of thing. We've got a sadhu. We have some girls out trinket shopping, a landlord who has come on pilgrimage, and finally a goddess, or at least the effigy of a goddess, being built for her annual festival. So, Varanasi. Very important to keep hydrated in India. The last journeys come first, at dawn, when the Ganges folds thickly around the sleeping oar blades like stirred milk, mother of pearl, white as widows, white as potted curds, swaddled and swung shoulder high down alleys shoulder wide. These travellers are borne at last to the water's edge, and the night-cooled river licks them clean, their cold skin unpuckered, unresisting. Sallow, yellow, sunken faces slip under, and no silver beads betray them. Those who love them re-wrap them and light that fire in the morning chill and smash their skulls for mercy, for their deeds to escape with the steam. Now, the day has burned away the haze by the time I come, threading my way from the westernmost tip of the blade that is Benares, the point where the stories say that people were saved from a demon by Durga, her sword arm upraised, a 10-pointed dancer, divinity, blood-crazed, triumphant. But after, she threw it away. Sword severed the river, the far-flung hilt, sinking so swiftly to sand and to silt, and over the battleground, a city was built. That is the goddess myth. But here comes the girl, up the riverbank, made up of 84 worlds that touch at their edges a long rope of pearls, linked but distinct, separated by words, yes, their names on a map, but by usage in fact. So Asi, Ahilya, Shivala Ghats might be fishermen's, beggars or boatmen's Ghats, healing and holy and burning Ghats, where the corpse flames at noon make dimensions collapse and outlines of shrines bend in heat parallax. Here, saris sag drying in softened orthogonals, and jostles of buffalo puddle their mud holes, and paddling or playing or praying, the people all bustle but tessellate. I'm the one with the angles, heading east to my teacher. I'm hoping to catch my toes with my fingers, learning to latch my limbs into asanas, straining to snatch some peace on a yoga mat, meaning to match my inhale To my exhale, my hands to my feet, and gather my ragged self, roll it up neat, and somehow be circular, somehow complete. Knees, hands, face. Knees, hands, face. Knees, hands, face to the dust, the road taking his measure. By tatter trucks and tuk-tuks he toils, caterpillar, inchback, looping, kissing it, ecstatic with pain. He stitches himself a hem of devotion. Knees, hands, face. Knees, hands, face. Knees, hands, face into the old town capillaries, canopies, the apex, a molten solder line of sky, unseen, his eyes fixed, one man span ahead, tinnitus of commerce, unheard, his ears folded inwards on the mantra, knees, hands, face, knees, hands, face, knees, hands, face, 400 miles to the foot of the goddess. Stepping over and around and down this hip sway, hung with dew jaws. Girls go mooning over bindies, bangles, boxes, black lacquer, shine, peacock eyes, waterfalls of sari silk, candy bright for 100 rupee, 70, 60, 50 prices falling at their feet as they pass by, ruminating on beads, sandalwood, green glass, pearlized plastic, each one so rounded, a perfect planet. The stars and moon are positioned auspiciously for weighty requests. And at his wife's behest, he is here, starched, solid as the concrete steps up Meergat, made pucker by the municipal authorities as early as 1987. Landlord, absentee from the usufruct, he is holding on to an heirloom string of prayer beads and a conviction that he is a big man in his panchayat. He pulls the linen, clean and taut over his paunch, his dignified waist. Oh, but his petitioner's face, the forehead is wrinkled under red tikka paste. It's a short walk down the steps to the holy bath. Beggars, ranged on either side, hunched over themselves, tucked and rolled, they are zeros. 10 hundreds are 1,000. 100,000s are a lakh. 10 lakhs make a crore, and in life's ledgers there are so many more. What if they were to all rise up at once? Wildly he imagines them synchronized in dance like a mass of Bollywood choreens shimmying into mandalas before his very eyes, wheels within wheels, spokes broken by withered legs, cogs missing arms. At the money changer's stall, he hands over a frayed 5 rupee note and receives in return zinc-grey ziggurats of paisa coins, that he may spread his charity widely, like a net for good karma. Durga is bodybuilding at night, strip lit in the lockup. It's that time of year again. She's been schlepping in the mud too long. Musculature mushy. Sword arm indistinct. A flaccid 12-month on the riverbed. Currents tugging her skin off. Mustard mud slough. 10 arms loosened in 10 sockets and snuffled and rolled like fish kisses, until she turns in her sleep, and dreams of waking. Pull me together. Tough to get going, needs the hands of many men, confirming her contours, calluses rasping as the clay smooths over quads and hams of bundled straw. Of course they linger on breasts, waist, hips, the Trinity. Teeth strobing white laughter, their smut, their defence, against an old magic that they do. Believe it. They are building her for real, fleshing her out from her wire core until she revives in layers, until she thrills to the surface. Banders locked, blank eyes only shamming now she is swimming up from her coma. Watch out for finger flickers, here she comes. It's not just the paint that makes her vibrate. The gods are out there, formless until we make them in artistry and prayer. The lights that call them down the tunnel, the lines that reel them in, fearsome catch. 'Cause having called her, having hooked her from her river, well, they hoist her on their shoulders. So she's dancing on their shoulders, she's trampling on their shoulders, she's lurching, she's looming, her skull garland swinging, and the night is tight with worship and a sharper edge of terror, a delirium of drumming, a devotional of drumming. They surge the screaming streets with her and throw her back. You know, I stole the title for this show. I stole the title. The moon couldn't be stolen. It's not mine. It's from this book. Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. Anybody ever read it? Yeah. It's Buddhist tales. Yeah. We Buddhists, we like a good metaphor. And the moon is the Buddhist metaphor for the nature of reality. The nature of your true self. Always there, cannot be grasped, often unseen. And they talk about calming the waters of the mind so that you may see the moon reflected more clearly. And I liked it as an image, so I nicked it. In fact, if I tell the truth, I stole the whole idea of going to India in the first place. I stole it from Becky McCowan. She had been there, she was older than me, she was prettier than me, and I wanted to be just like her. So what I'm saying is that culturally, spiritually, aesthetically and aspirationally, I am a bit of a thief. And I would go so far as to argue that in some senses we all are. It's a way of creating your identity. You look out there and you see something that appeals, a way of living, a way of looking, a set of values. And you emulate it. You steal it. You find other people who feel the same way, who can mirror you back. You validate yourselves. Thieves, thieves belong. So in the fable, there is a thief. And the thief goes to steal from a hermit. Now, of course, a hermit only has his robe and his begging bowl. So that's all the thieves steal. And you have to ask yourself, how poor do you have to be to want to steal from a hermit? And obviously, it is a metaphor. It's a spoken word show with a metaphor. You were expecting that, really, weren't you? And travelling for a long time tends to beggar you. It scatters your resources. And it does mean that you look in some desperate and strange places for identity and meaning and guidance, for robes and bowls. Because when you're severed from the usual means to make yourself, you know, those robes you used to wear, those roles. And you look around, and you realise that all of your possessions are only empty bowls. They're artefacts. And you look around and you realise that nothing, no one mirrors you back. Or you may find with a oh-mouth moon face of surprise that you don't exist. How are you going to cope with this? You're going to shift shapes again? going to wear a new skin? Those respectful polka dots you wore in the flesh pots, they're just a pathetic way to hide. Wear them in Calcutta, and the street sweepers call you Mem Sahib and step aside. Which one of those is you? The Sanskrit on your hippie trousers? In Delhi, that's just sacrilegious. Look, I know you're following your nose, but all I smell is burning bridges. And your clothes and your companions are getting more regrettable. You dress to seem more fuckable, you just become forgettable. What are you going to do? You're going to do the pilgrimage around Mount Arunachala? You're going to squeeze your legs into the denim blue streets of Jodhpur? You're going to break yourself on the coral reef of Jaisalmer, or curl into a crescent around Pushkar's emerald desert tier? I know, take mushrooms in Kodai Canal. Or take tea in Darjeeling. Circle round the light bulb at the mercy of your feelings. Or go home, whatever that is. I was asked if I would finish by saying how travelling had changed me, but I really can't answer that. I still feel like I'm dipping into the Ganges and coming up in a different skin. I just don't do it quite so frequently anymore. And I definitely still get distracted by robes and bowls and forget to look at the bloody moon. But, I don't know, it doesn't worry me so much anymore. So instead, I'm going to leave you with the Buddhist tale, and you can make up your own minds what it all means. A Zen master lived the simplest kind of life in a little hut at the foot of the mountain. One evening, a thief visited the hut, only to discover that there was nothing in it to steal. The master returned and called him. "You may have come a long way to visit me. You should not return empty-handed. Please, take my robe and my bowl as a gift." The thief was bewildered. He took the robe and the bowl and slunk away. And the master sat naked, watching the moon. "Poor fellow," he said. "I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon. But the moon cannot be stolen." Thank you so much for your time and attention. So, in conclusion, it's a scratch performance. Please do give me feedback, write it down on the tablet. It's on at Edinburgh Fringe from the 2nd to the 9th of August at the Tasca at 4 o'clock every day. And it's part of the Free Fringe, so if you know anybody who's going up, do send them in my direction. I am self-funded, so if you have enjoyed the Goa and the Varanasi poems, they are available for purchase. In this very beautiful chapbook for £4, and you can even choose your own cover colour. Can't be fairer than that. So if you feel like keeping me in gin and cornflakes while I'm up there, do see me, but please don't feel obliged, but do give me some feedback if you have some comments to give. And yeah, thank you very much indeed.